Hey guys, I'm Saurabh. Welcome to the channel. Finally, examinations are over. I'm getting some time to make videos, and in this one, I'm going to edit your photos. I asked you people on Instagram to email me your pictures, and there were a lot of good pictures. But for this one, especially for this particular video, I'm selecting very few. To be honest, only 4 photos, but in a way that will teach you something different about photo editing. When it comes to editing photos, everyone has their editing style. Talking about me, I like a much more natural look. I don't manipulate photos usually. But for this particular video, I'm going to use the whole creative freedom. I'm going to manipulate photos. I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. Basically, the idea is to have fun. Hopefully, you will enjoy the video. So without wasting any time, let's get started. The first image we have today is taken by Pradeep. Lovely location, love the reflections, the exposure is on point. The only issue for me with this image is the sky. It's plain white and there are no details. I will fix that later. First, I'll increase the shadows. Not much because it's sunset time, so the shadows should not be very bright. These are the things you should keep in mind because the idea is to make the photo look better but not fake at the same time. Reduce the highlights a bit, decrease the blacks to increase the contrast, and according to me, the white balance is a bit cooler than it should be. Anytime I need to fix the white balance, what I do is I crank up the saturation and then I fix the white balance till it looks fine and then I bring the saturation back. This is a small trick which helps you get a better idea of the colors and fix the white balance. I'll increase the texture, clarity and vibrance a bit to give the image more pop. I want to reduce the highlights in the water. It's a bit distracting. Since this is blue in color, I'll reduce the luminance of blue. Add some vignette to darken the corners, bring the attention to the center of the image. To draw some more attention, I will use a radial filter, increase the shadows and exposure a bit, and that's done. I'm happy with the raw edit, it's subtle but looks better. Now, I want to change the sky. For that, let's take it to Photoshop. It's very simple. Go to Edit, Sky Replacement, select the sky, it will take some time and boom, it's done. Make sure the preview is checked if you're not able to see the result. You have different skies. I'll go to the sunset folder and try some of them. This one looks subtle and it suits the overall image as well. Photoshop also adjusts the overall image in terms of lighting and colors to make sure the sky suits the image, and that is one of my favorite features of Photoshop. In this case, Photoshop has done a very good job even in the edges if I zoom in here, so I won't change the settings. I'm really happy with how this image turned out to be. It was already a very good image. I didn't have to do much, but I'm quite happy with the result. Going to the next one, this one's taken by Brahma Reddy. There's a bit of interest in the clouds. I like the smooth feel of the water due to the slower shutter speed. The photographer has done a really good job, but the image lacks contrast. I'll use sky replacement again to give the image more drama. It's a bit overexposed. I'll reduce the exposure, reduce the highlights, increase the clarity and vibrance, normal stuff. With the help of the curves, I'll pull down the shadows and get more contrast in the image. Next, I will reduce the blue luminance a bit, and that's it for the initial raw edit. Let's take the image into Photoshop. Same thing like before. Go to Edit, Sky Replacement, and let's select something more dramatic here. I feel this one is really going to make it pop. Lot of drama, lot of contrast. Now, for the previous image, the edges were perfectly selected, but here you can still see some of the clouds from the original image. I'll shift the edge a bit till I'm not able to see the clouds. And as you can see, it's not doing a perfect job. It's taking out some of the trees as well. And there is this reflection being added which is not looking natural. Don't worry, click on OK, save the changes. The best thing about the sky replacement feature is it's completely non-destructive, meaning it's not baked into a single layer. You have different layers and you can adjust those layer masks according to your liking. I can go ahead and I can start fixing it by painting black on the layer mask. I'm doing a rough job here, but hope you get the idea. Very happy with the final image. Lot of contrast, lot of colors compared to the before version. Absolutely loved how this turned out. The next one is a drone shot. Twin Towers from Kuala Lumpur. This one's going to be fun. For this one, I'm thinking to do something different. I want the image to look more cinematic and at the same time I want to add more depth to it. I'll reduce the highlights, reduce the blacks a bit more. I don't want much details to be visible in the shadow area. I want to crush those blacks, and I will also take away the saturation. About -20 looks good. I'm going for a desaturated, filmy, moody vibe for this one. According to me, the greens and blues are still more saturated, more prominent than it should be. Let's go to the saturation tab and decrease the saturation for green and blue. I'll also reduce the luminance of blue to reduce its brightness. The reason I'm doing this is I don't want those colors to draw the attention. The most important step here is the curves part. I'll pull up the blacks to get a faded look, bring the shadows down and the highlights up. Simple curves adjustment but makes a huge difference. If you don't know how to use curves, I would highly recommend you to learn it. It's one of my favorite editing tools. I have a detailed video on curves. The link will be in the description. To finish the raw edit, I will add some vignette and let's take it to Photoshop. I want to add a soft glow effect, and for the depth, I'm thinking of adding some fog. For the soft glow effect, I will duplicate the layer, filter, blur, Gaussian blur. About 10 to 15 looks good. Go to image, adjustments, brightness, contrast. Add a bit of brightness and a lot of contrast. Once done, reduce the opacity to about 15 to 25%. I'll stick with 20% for this one, and this looks good. The final step is to add some fog. I've downloaded some fog PNGs from Pixel Buddha. The link again will be in the description. Let's open some of the fog PNGs. Just place it on top, change the blending mode to lighten, you're done. It's trial and error. I'm free to use as many layers as I like and scale it according to my liking. I'll go with these two and mask out some of the fog from this layer. The PNGs are a bit noisy according to my taste. It doesn't look natural, so I will add some Gaussian blur to smoothen it out. That's it. We started with a flat image, added a lot of contrast, gave it a faded look, then added the glow effect, and at the end we added the fog. I haven't tried something like this before, but I'm really quite happy with how this turned out. The last one for today is a portrait image taken by Rohit. Rohit, you have done a wonderful job. I don't even think this needs to be edited, frankly. I'll just do some basic adjustments. The lighting is on point. The subject is very well lit. The depth of field, really a very good job. I won't reduce the highlights like usual because I like the light falling on the subject. I will increase the whites, decrease the blacks in order to increase the contrast. I'll reduce the clarity a bit to get a softer look. I want the texture of the dress to pop out. For that, let's select the subject, click on masking, select subject. Lightroom does a tremendous job in selecting the subject. Now, I only want the dress to be selected and not the face. I'll click on subtract, select brush and paint out the areas I don't want to be affected. Again, I'm doing a rough job here. In case I erase something extra, I can hold Alt and paint it back. I'll increase the texture to about +20. On a smaller screen, this might not seem like an important step, but when you're viewing this on a larger display or you're printing it large, these minor details make a huge difference. For the face, I'll use a radial filter, add some more highlights and slightly increase the shadows. I will increase the vibrance to make the colors pop. In curves layer, I'll select the green curves, add some of the greens in the highlights to make it warmer and take it down in the shadows area to give it some color contrast. For the exposure curve, I'll bring up the blacks to add a faded look like before, bring down the shadows, increase the highlights a bit. Again, simple curves adjustment makes a huge difference. These colors at the right side is a bit distracting for me. Let's use the radial filter and decrease the saturation. To decrease the saturation of the background even more, let's select the subject once again, click on invert and decrease the saturation just a bit. The raw edit looks good to me. Nothing much dramatic, subtle, but the raw photo itself was so good I didn't have to do much. That's it for this video, guys. Thanks a lot everyone for submitting their photos. I really enjoy going through your photos, editing them, working on them. So if you want me to edit your pictures in the further episodes, make sure you email me your pictures. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something out of it. And if you did, press the like button. Didn't subscribe? Please subscribe to my channel. That helps me, that supports me to create more content. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.